As you can see, volunteers have already distributed some socks. I hope that you've all gotten one, and if you haven't, I'll explain what you can do. So, if you received a sock, please put it on your dominant hand, and I encourage you, I challenge you, to not use it for the entirety of this talk. If you didn't receive a sock, don't worry, you can still do this challenge, just with your fists clenched. If you were to do this for an entire day, think about how you'd brush your teeth, take a shower, and put on your clothes. Later in the day, how would you write or type? Would you be able to carry a backpack or hold someone's hand? For those that swim, play basketball, volleyball, or other sports, would you be able to do them at your full potential? Would you be able to easily do things such as drive, play video games, serve yourself a meal, or even pet your puppy? I can assure you that by the end of the challenge, you'll be extremely thankful for your hand. The reality is that there are people that have to live with this challenge for more than one day and have, in fact, lived with it for their entire lives. Now, we people have an incredible capacity to adjust. But think about it. Would you do everything just as well today as you would without that sock on your hand? Think about it. Even if years pass, how much easier would it get? For many, one solution is prosthetics, but these can range in cost from $200 up to $20,000. Now I ask you, how could it be possible for someone from a lower class of a developing country like Nicaragua to be able to afford this type of solution? Plus, this can either be restricted to functionality or aesthetics. With this in mind, one day I decided to ask myself the question, what can I do about it? My first thought was, I'll make some prosthetics. How hard could it be? I didn't then know the long way that I had to go and the many hours I would put into my project. I was at the bottom of a mountain, and I had to climb all of it, finding equipment along the way. So I started researching, and I found an organization called Enable, based on the United States, that empowers people through 3D printed prosthetics. When produced locally and on a small scale, these prosthetics can be up to 18 times cheaper than conventional types of the same quality. This would provide an opportunity to address this problem in Nicaragua for the first time. So the challenge was on. I first had to do some background research to figure out how to do this, but quickly realized that many of the resources I would need were not available locally. This would mean that I would have to import materials that would end up doubling their price as they pass through customs. Ironically, in my pursuit to empower others, I felt powerless. Situations such as the one I was facing made me realize that not having accessibility to the resources I needed discouraged me from gaining momentum. Nonetheless, it wasn't until I met Joel that I realized that it was possible. Joel is a student at uni who has decided to make his own impact and extend his knowledge collaboratively with a friend. Many of us tend to think that because we live in Nicaragua, we don't have resources like 3D printers or other luxuries like these, because we are still developing. War has left us damaged, and we have lost time to progress. But you would be surprised to know that many of these resources are there, just awaiting to be uncovered. One of these was a 3D printer built by Joel himself in his own bedroom. He did not have the resources to build it, yet somehow he managed to create not one, but 2 3D printers that worked as well as any other, including industrial grade. Upon seeing this, I felt bad for depreciating my country and its resources. I thought, how did he do it? Why haven't I done it? Well, Joel used the internet, and I would do the same. Nowadays, there are an unlimited amount of guides, tutorials, and articles to make almost about anything you can think of. Plus, these are constantly updated by the helpful community that surrounds these innovations. Seeing Joel's printer for the first time made me realize that the idea to create positive change should be pursued no matter what obstacle blocks the path. We must either climb these obstacles or try to go around them. Inspired, I asked Joel how it was possible to overcome such an obstacle. He made me realize that obstacles can be overcome simply through exploring one's passion. A passion, according to the Cambridge Dictionary, is an extreme feeling or interest of doing something. We are either born with it or develop it over time, but I can assure you that each and every one of you has a passion. It might be hidden, and it is just a matter of finding it through exploring various subjects. Analyzing the situation, I realized that the impossible is possible when having the right mindset. When having a great idea, don't immediately think about how hard it is to achieve, but think about how to get to it, the resources you'll need, and the people you'll have to contact. Many of these resources you might not be able to get here in Nicaragua, like a 3D printer, or so you would think. So you would think. So what do? I'm here to give you a formula. The first step is to ask yourself the question about what you want to do. Identify a problem and question yourself on the subject of this problem. In my case, it was, there are people missing limbs. What can I do? How can I help? How much would it cost? Could it be possible? Could I reduce this cost? What are cheaper ways to make them? And bam, 3D printed prosthetics. Questioning yourself on a problem will not only help you fuel your mind, but will also make ideas pop up with a solution to this problem. The next step is the most crucial one in making your idea become a reality, and it is to take action. Ideas are just ideas. They are an abstract thing that we keep in the back of our head, and if they never leave our head, then they are useless. Taking action involves a wider range of stuff we have to do, like contacting people, finding resources, buying those resources, and overall, it's just a lot of planning. At first, it might seem a bit overwhelming, but if you take small steps every day, you'll see how the project begins to build itself. I faced the problem of not having a 3D printer to begin with. So I started researching on organizations that might be able to lend me one, and ended up participating in a meeting with them. Now, with people, you have to make them like your idea. And in this way, I managed to get the support of the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, regional president, to help me with the building blocks of a 3D printer. This institute is one of the biggest societies of engineers in the world, and I managed to get their support by contacting their president through one of my mentors. When I talked to him, I expressed my vision for the future, and by demonstrating passion, I managed to enlist his help. So, once you have what you need, it is all a matter of determination. Success depends on how badly you want it, because every path that's worth pursuing will never be easy to walk through. Whenever you feel low on determination, go back to the enthusiasm you had at the beginning. Remember why you want to do this project and why. Or if it's for yourself, remember the dream you have and, most importantly, why. So, step number 3 could go hand in hand with step number 4. But sometimes, even if you have the most determination, you might fail. You might trip once, twice, many times, or not at all if you're lucky. But trust me, whenever you fall, it is tough. So the first thing you should do is check your surroundings and tell yourself, how bad is it? And how can I get out of it? Many times when we fall, we tend to think that the obstacle is much bigger than ourselves, when in reality, we can overcome it, whether it be big or small. In my case, the 3D printer that the organization had lent me stopped working for over a month, despite me having read the instructions forward and backward. For a moment, I thought that my project would be a complete failure, as the models kept printing badly. Whenever you fall, the only thing that you're not allowed to do is to get desperate and give up. Failure is a natural part of life, and if we keep giving up every time we fail, none of our ideas will ever come out into the light. It wasn't until I stood up that I realized that the hole I was trapped in only reached until my waist, and I had spent time being trapped there when I was easily able to climb back out and keep walking. Not to get too technical, but some friends and I had managed to fix the printer. Now I put it back on you. What's something you've always wanted to do to make a positive change? Who would it help? Can you see it? Remember, whenever you go through failure, remember this, that no successful project is without failures, and that no successful person is without failures. Whenever you go through failure, remember this quote by Winston Churchill. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Now back to where I was before. Now I put it back on you. What is something you've always wanted to do to make a positive change? Who would it help? Can you see yourself finishing this project? Can you feel it? Now realize that to get there, you must first be willing to sacrifice time and effort. Knowing this and accepting this with a growth mindset, there is nothing you can't achieve in life, for yourself or for anyone else. Whether it be the college you want to go to, someone you want to help, a crazy idea that you might have, it is all up to you. When taking on a challenging project, reflectively approach on the path that you have taken to realize that it was all worth it. Having effectively realized my vision only makes me wish I had begun earlier. Ms. Wilkie, can you lend me a hand? Thank you. I encourage you to please follow your own dreams into achieving results such as these. Remember the sock you used at the beginning of the presentation? Now I want you to take it off. Please. How many of you were able to endure the challenge? How many of you failed? Now I want you to imagine something one last time. Imagine if someone that had lived with this challenge for all their lives, instead of the 7 minutes that this talk has gone through, finally got that hand back through one of these. That is the impact that your ideas could have. And I encourage you to please follow your own dreams into achieving these results so that we can make this world a better place. Thank you.